Hey guys, I wanted to do a video on how keeping God's law can actually help us heal. And this is going to be kind of a part two to the covenant making and keeping video that I did previously. So if you didn't catch that one, you can go back and check that out. So this is a concept that I teach my kids over and over and over again, because it's kind of a tricky one for some people, especially if you have been through trauma or abused something hard. We have the tendency as humans to get angry at God. It's not bad to have anger at God. In fact, it might be very healthy for you to express it, to write down your feelings or to pray and just tell your Heavenly Father how you feel about a certain situation. However, you are only doing yourself a disfavor when you decide to break the laws of God because of that anger. Because what happens is that God has all the ability and power and willingness to help you when you keep the laws of the universe. But when you do not, He is obligated in a way to allow those consequences to happen naturally, like many of us do as parents. These laws, they have certain conditions to them. If you keep a law, there are certain blessings affixed to that law, and when you do not keep the law, then you don't have the promise of those blessings, and you also have some consequences sometimes. So, an example, street drugs is a common thing, or alcohol is a common thing for people of trauma to become addicted to. And I don't want to make you feel shame if you've had some problems with any of that, because I understand the pain is so overwhelming and you're just trying to find something that helps. But street drugs are harmful to our health. They're harmful to the bodies that God has given to us as a gift. And it causes upset inside of us. For example, the alcohol is made with fermentation. It has candida in it. Candida wreaks havoc in your body, especially with our high sugar diets that we have. We're causing all of these autoimmune diseases, and it doesn't help. It harms us. So, being careful with these addictions. Another thing is like tattooing our bodies. If you have tattoos, I love you. No judgment here. But I've learned for myself that when we tattoo our bodies, we're actually interrupting the biomeridians. You learn this in Chinese medicine. Our bodies have so much energy flow going through them that anytime we have surgical cuts, piercings, and I have a couple of those, and tattoos, we're actually interrupting the energy flow of our bodies and those biomeridians. If you've ever been to the Bodies Exhibit Museum, which I absolutely love, it's in Vegas now, but I remember seeing this model of all the nerves of a human being that it really made this like clear for me. The nerves, just the nerves themselves, outline the whole entire body, like fully and completely. I was surprised at how many nerves there actually are. And that's the same with the biomeridians. And when we're cutting these lines, we're causing scar tissue in our bodies, and it actually interrupts the flow of touch, and it interrupts the flow of orgasm, and it interrupts those detox lines. And so it's just something to be aware of when you make these decisions, that there's actually something that goes along with it to maybe look at, so that you have all the information on all sides. But one of the biggest things is to have sex with multiple people, to have sex addictions. Sex is a very natural, beautiful, God-given thing, and it's actually meant to be very, very sacred and holy. Something that God has given us to feel good, to have joy, to feed our brains, to feed our relationships and our families, to give our children a safe place to build from. And when we have sex with multiple people, when we have these sex addictions, especially if we're breaking covenants of marriage, there's something that happens that's kind of like, I'm going to compare it to the Horcruxes in Harry Potter that Voldemort made, because that's literally how it is. We end up taking a piece of our soul every time and putting it in another Horcrux. And then we're chopped in a million pieces with all these different people that we have had sexual intimacy with. Some of God's most important laws are bringing children into the world, because children deserve a safe and stable home, and how people are taken out of the world, like murder. Obviously, there's going to be consequences for that. One thing that I understood very clearly as I went through my Iboga treatment in Costa Rica was that God put us on this beautiful world that He created, and we make things too complicated. But the only thing that He really wanted us to love Him, love each other, and love the world and His creations. And once we came and started murdering, came first person to murder, and started, jealousies, and started disrespecting God's law, then the chaos started to happen in our world. And so it's kind of hard to explain. I hope I'm explaining it right, but the commandments of God, the laws of God, kind of keep us in this safe place, as if we were in a gated yard, and we might think that it's nicer on the other side of this fence, but there's dangers on the other side. There can be a cliff that drops off that you don't see. There could be crocodiles or rattlesnakes or whatever on the other side of this fence. There are, not that there could be, but there are. And God gives us these laws not to bind us down or control us, but to make us more free. And I want to testify to you that as I have hung on to my covenants, as I have proven the Lord and kept His commandments to the best of my ability, I know that I've been happier. And, I have not had these addictions, and I've been able to move through my stuff better, I think, even though it's really hard at times, and even though it's going longer than I want it to. I see myself in a better position, and as I look back and I see my cousins and my siblings who have been through some of the things that I went through, using addictions as a crutch, they're struggling. And again, I don't want anyone to judge anyone else for these addictions. It's something that you can't judge. It's something that's really, 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 really personal and really delicate, because they're trying to not die in some instances, which I commend that, because it's hard. And anyways, it keeps us within, keeping the commandments keeps us within that safe place where we can actually grow, where we actually have freedom from addictions, where we don't interrupt our precious bodies from receiving the love and the help that they need.